Think back to late last year and that final regular season matchup they had in Milwaukee that we all hyped up and thought, hey, this is going to be the game that's going to determine who gets the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Not so much, because the Celtics came to Milwaukee and thrashed the Bucks. You think back to how that playoff series ended 2 years ago, when it just seemed like the Bucks had run out of gas. It's a Celtics team that, if we're being frank, they are not afraid of the Bucks. They play with an immense amount of confidence against the Bucks, and we've seen this same group, for whatever reason, struggle against other teams, other inferior teams. But when they see the Milwaukee Bucks on the schedule, the Boston Celtics just seem to take it to another level, and it felt like that once again for certainly the first 12 minutes of the game, for most of the first 24 minutes of the game, for a lot of the first 36 minutes of the game. But what you saw in the fourth quarter was the biggest difference between this year and years past in this series between these two teams, and the biggest reason why, as much as we all love Drew Holiday, why the Bucks had to make that move. Because as bad as the Bucks looked for, again, 3/4 of this game, and even more than that, to sit here and say the Bucks had a chance, I don't know if you can say to win, but to potentially make this a winnable game, despite the way things looked. Last year, this is a game the Bucks end up losing by 20 points. 2 years ago, it's probably the same story. That's how much Damian Lillard changes things. And a night when Giannis did not have his shot, Brook Lopez did. And again, we saw the Bucks feed Brook Lopez. I know you don't want to get into the business of saying, hey, it's a moral victory. Hey, here's one of the things you can take away from it. And especially early in the season, and especially with a team that has expectations of winning an NBA championship. But I think you have to, and I think that's what you leave this game with, thinking, okay, if we can just stop digging such a hole in the first 12 minutes, in the first quarter of games, first half of a lot of games, if the Bucks can find a way to stop doing that. Adrian Griffin was asked about it again after the game and had no answers. If we can eliminate that, I feel like we're in a good spot, is the big takeaway you have here. It's continuing to grow. Thought the defense, not great. Defense looked better in the second half, and especially in the fourth quarter. But, look, you lose the game, it could have been a lot worse. And as I just said minutes ago, I think in years past, it would have been a lot worse. That, to me, is the takeaway. Now number one, another takeaway is you got to figure out a way to beat this team. And you got to figure out a way to beat the Boston Celtics in May. But this feels different with this group than it did in seasons past. 855-616-1620, the number to join us tonight. Disappointing result, but an intriguing finish to the close of this game. More after this on Bucks Talk.
You're listening to Bucks Talk.
If you can't get a good night's sleep, let me ask you, are you breathing well? Because if you're snoring or waking up each night with a stuffed up nose, or frustrated with your CPAP mask, the root of your sleep problem lies in your breathing triangle. And if any one of those passages isn't working, you won't sleep well. And there's no mattress, pill, or other gimmick that can fix that. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula. A recipe for a good night's sleep starts with an open airway. Now, there are devices that can help solve snoring or sleep apnea problems. If you walk into a sleep center, know you'll walk out with a CPAP. And you might find other options elsewhere. But the simple truth is, if your nose doesn't work properly, no device will help. Only at Advent will you find every effective snoring and sleep apnea solution, along with a world-class team that can get your nose working properly again.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
I know you have a great dog, right? But you know there's room for improvement. At Sit Means Sit Dog Training, we can help. Our attention-based training system uses modern technology to help you better communicate with your dog, even in high distraction. When you schedule a free consultation with us, you will have the opportunity to see our training in action and meet for yourself our happy dogs off leash and under control. Contact Sit Means Sit today at 262-361-3641 or find us on the web at sitmeansitwaukesha.com to schedule your free consultation so you can have a happy, confident, and obedient dog.
Join in on the fun this holiday season with a trip to Winky's Hallmark and Gifts, where you will find something for everyone on your list. Shop from our vast selection of unique gifts and specialty souvenir items. Enjoy delicious candies and chocolates made locally and imported from Europe. Deck your halls with home decor and candles that will set the mood for any occasion. Visit us on the corner of Silver Spring and Lake Drive in Whitefish Bay, or shop online at winkysgifts.com.
Gotta get to Winky's now.
Good Karma Brands is proud to be an equal opportunity employer. Our policy is to provide equal opportunity employment, development, and advancement to all current and potential teammates. If you are an organization that maintains a job bank, provides employment information, or gives job referrals, you may request to be placed on the station's mailing list for future career opportunities. To learn more about careers at Good Karma Brands, please email careers@goodkarmabrands.com.
The Roundball Repartee returns. This is Bucks Talk.
It's a tough loss for the Bucks in Boston tonight as they fall just short in this comeback attempt. But you saw some good things in the fourth quarter, and, during halftime, I was talking with Dave Kane, and we had both said this wasn't unexpected. So before each game, we'll go back and forth and kind of get what does your gut tell you about this game? And we were both very aligned in that I didn't have a great feeling coming into tonight just because the Celtics, as we mentioned, have seemingly taken things to a new level each time they play the Bucks the last 2+ years. Your one win that stands out in the last year was when basically nobody played for the Boston Celtics, and even then it was overtime that it took, and they nearly came back and beat you. Christmas Day was a massacre last year in Boston. Even worse was the final matchup between these two teams in Milwaukee that, again, we thought was going to determine who got the 1 seed. It did not. But the Celtics have just owned the Bucks in these moments. And you think back to that second-round series as well, the what might have been series. I think your lasting memory from that is the Bucks had a chance to close out the series in Milwaukee in Game 6. Jason Tatum and Al Horford erupted in the fourth quarter. Celtics win that game. They keep their season alive, and then they just destroyed the Bucks. More specifically, Grant Williams in three-point shooting destroyed the Bucks. They have been an extremely confident team, and I don't think it's hyperbole to say the Boston Celtics have zero fear of the Milwaukee Bucks. And that, to me, is the biggest reason why you had to do something differently. Boston's not going away. You knew coming into the season, Philly, who knows what's going to happen there, even before the whole James Harden situation unfolded. Well, Philadelphia was very good. Joel Embiid's the reigning MVP. Tyrese Maxey looks like he's building or growing into something. So you got that team. You got the Boston Celtics. You've always got to be afraid of the Miami Heat once the calendar flips to March and April. So you knew you had to do something to differentiate things. You couldn't just do the status quo when that Miami Heat team just beat you, number one, and when this Boston Celtics team has just shown no fear of the Bucks. So that, to me, was why you absolutely, as much as it hurts to give up Drew Holiday, you absolutely had to make that deal. You had to do something differently. Damian Lillard does something differently for you. A new coach does something differently for you. The result may not have played out the way you wanted tonight, or the results may not have shown that. But this is a different Bucks group. And that, to me, is the big takeaway, is we had that brief stretch last week when Dame, frankly, looked like Dame. How much of that was, hey, Giannis was out, he had to carry more of the load. It was more of a comfort zone thing for Dame that he got to slip back to being the guy in Portland and carried that through. How much of it was that? Who knows? And same for Giannis when he played those 2 games without Damian Lillard. But what really stands out is, I said it in the first segment. I don't think the Bucks are within 20 points of the Celtics in seasons past. That once that thing got to 20 plus, and especially in that second half, Celtics took a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter. It felt like it sat at 16 or 18, 14 to 18 points for most of the third quarter. Bucks scored the first 6 points, and all of a sudden it's single figures. But after that, the Celtics pushed it back to double figures, and it seemed to sit at 14 to 18 for the next roughly 15 minutes of game time. In seasons past, when the Bucks did not have a dynamic scorer like Damian Lillard, I think the Bucks end up losing by 18, 20 points, and it's easier to go to the bench and say, okay, let's live to fight another day. But when you have Damian Lillard, and we've already seen it, 5 times this year that he's had double-digit points in the fourth quarter, you see how much that changes things, and how as much as Dame struggled, as much as this entire offense looked kind of caught in mud and did not look good for basically 3/4 of the game, you still made it very interesting, and that's the Damian Lillard effect in what he can do. When he starts to hit three-pointers, when he starts to heat up, I mentioned it too. One of the more encouraging things to me was seeing Damian Lillard get to the rim. Now, finishing at the rim is something you wish you would have seen as well in that final play, but getting to the rim as easily as he did, because that was another part of the chatter of, hey, Drew Holiday's locked up Dame in the past, and you think back to that playoff series with the Pelicans where they swept the Portland Trail Blazers in the 2018 playoffs, I believe that was. That and Derek White, man, that backcourt defensively is going to put you in a straitjacket. Good luck. Damian Lillard had no problem beating Derek White off the dribble tonight. And that's probably been the thing that has caught a lot of Bucks fans off guard, is seeing how good he is with that burst and exploding to the rim and finishing at the rim. I think if you didn't watch a lot of Blazers games, you just assumed Damian Lillard was just the guy that shot tough, long threes and hit them. But that was the big takeaways. Man, he really changes things. Now, once he starts to get more into that zone, that's going to be another step in the growth of this team. Now, I kind of went over these numbers briefly during the postgame show, but I do want to get into Damian Lillard starts throughout his career, because we've bombarded you with, hey, Damian Lillard, he gets off to a slow start historically, and I think we've all just mentioned that without adding any proper context, just how slow, how does this year relate to others? So we have those numbers. I do want to get into it because I think there has been a little bit of I keep hearing Dame is a historically slow starter, but I don't know, it seems worse than usual. It's not. So we'll give you the numbers there to explain why it is not worse than usual. And a few texts coming in on this. I wondered how long it would be before we got to this conversation as well, with one player in particular, but I think two names that it's starting to get harder and harder to leave off the floor. And I think you know who it is when I say two names and two young players that we're referring to. So we'll get to that and the Damian Lillard numbers, the slow starts he's had historically throughout his career. We'll give you the details next on Bucks Talk.
The Hardwood Homilies continue after this. This is Bucks Talk.
Artwork, especially original artwork, can be pricey. But when you take it in on consignment from nice people like you who are just ready to change the look of their home, you can price it right. And you'll find a lot of it at Design Exchange. Beautiful frame pieces by a number of notable artists. And new ones pop in all the time. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor at a value. In Heartland and Pewaukee.
Design Exchange.
Now these tend to fly off the shelves. But don't worry, because our connection supplies us with a lot of them. Vintage ceiling tiles from once great old buildings in New York City that make for ultra-unique artwork. These items are definitely hard to find from anywhere else around here. So come take a look, and you'll probably find a treasure. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor at a value. In Heartland and Pewaukee.
Design Exchange.
Hey, Sandy Max here. Have you heard about my friends at Three Pillars? They're located on 300 gorgeous nature-soaked acres in Dousman. with over 10 miles of walking and biking trails crisscrossing the Bark River. This serene setting is also home to Wisconsin's top-rated continuing care retirement community. Continuing care means every facet: independent living, assisted living, skilled nursing, and rehab. So whatever you need, Three Pillars is the best, and you deserve the best in your retirement. Learn more at threepillars.org.
You receive a diagnosis from a doctor. You feel good about proceeding. You also feel the need for a second opinion. Good for you. The Frederick and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network offers and encourages second opinions on medical and procedural next steps. Second opinions can often happen virtually and give you peace of mind about all that is humanly possible. Learn more or request an appointment at frederick.com/second opinion.
Tune in on Sundays at 10 a.m. for the AccuNet Mortgage and Realty Show. Join AccuNet's Brian and David Wickert for the most up-to-date information on mortgage trends, along with timely news on the real estate market. The housing market is in flux, but the national headlines don't often fit local market conditions. Find out what's really happening on the front lines of real estate and mortgage financing in Wisconsin and make better decisions by tuning in every Sunday at 10 a.m. The AccuNet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian and David Wickert on WTMJ.
Welcome back to Bucks Talk.
All right, Damian Lillard, the slow starts. It is a thing. It's not just us throwing out there, hey, don't worry. He always looks like this. Trust me. No, he really does. For whatever reason, throughout the course of his career, it has taken Damian Lillard time to get going. And I think all things considered, we can understand why this year of all years, if it would be the only year that he got off to a slow start, you could understand why. With the offseason that he had, everything that Damian Lillard has been dealing with on and off the basketball court, and just the whole, where am I going to play? You end up in Milwaukee. I think Damian Lillard would and has told you to. Look, I didn't think I'd be in Milwaukee until a week or so before that trade became official. But he mentioned, too, I wasn't able to do a lot of the same things I would do in an offseason in terms of use of the team facility, everything that I would do in terms of my workload and getting that in. Didn't do it. So you can understand why that would take a little bit off of what we've seen this season. But coming into play tonight, 12 games in a Bucks uniform for Damian Lillard. In those games, he was shooting just 33% on his threes. We'll round up and say he was shooting 40% from the field and 47% on his twos. So if there is one thing that stands out, and his plus-minus has been minus so far this season. If there is one thing that stands out, it's the two-point shooting. But those numbers, and I know I'm throwing numbers at you in an audio format, but one more time just really quickly, 33% on threes, 40% on field goal attempts, 47% on twos. Last year, the first 12 games of the season, Damian Lillard shot 34% on threes, and he shot 42% from the field. He averaged, or he scored 310 points in those games. He scored 295 so far. The year prior, Damian Lillard shot 25% on threes. Same point in the season, 12 games in, 25% on threes. The year prior was 37, 38, 37. But in the 2017 season, 31%. Now, is it always this low? No. But his numbers have been low the first month of the season if you just look at your season splits, and especially those first handful of games. Starts to pick it up shortly thereafter. To me, the big thing that stands out is the two-point shooting, and there could be a number of things that factor into that. Number one, figuring out spacing, and is this where I attack? Is it you? It's playing with two skilled bigs now in Giannis and Brook Lopez. That's going to take away some of those looks at the rim and some of that spacing. And again, not to use it as a crutch, but everything that he went through in the offseason in terms of getting ready for the season. 47% on twos this year. It was 52 at the same point last year, 50 the year prior, 51 the year prior, 56% in 2019, So it hasn't been, and again, 12 games is not a massive sample, but this is just to prove he does get off to slow starts. It has not been this low, his 2-point field goal percentage, since the 2017 season. But what jumps out even more than that is I think the way you explain it is not only everything that Damian Lillard has gone through in this transition here, and it's going to take time. It's going to continue to take time to build that chemistry and to figure out all of those comforts he had in Portland. But when you look at his field goal attempts, that to me tells that story even more so, because those are markedly down in the same amount of games. And look, obviously it's easy to explain why when you've got Giannis on the same team as you. And not only that, when you've got Brook Lopez out there. You know, like in Portland, for a lot of those years, it was Damian Lillard and guys that played with Damian Lillard. I know he had C.J. McCollum and LaMarcus Aldridge early in his career, but it was a one-man show. That is clearly not the case here. 20 fewer shots through 12 games this year versus last year. The year 2 years ago, that was an injury-struck season, a weird season for Damian Lillard. So he's taken more shots this year than he did then. Or I beg your pardon, he did not. He scored more points. It's 40 fewer shots than it was 2 years ago. It's 30 fewer shots than it was 3 years ago. It's 50 fewer shots than it was 4 years ago. So he's taken a lot less shots. And we heard Damian Lillard tell Adrian Griffin, look, I would like to play the entirety of the first and third quarter because I think that's going to help me find my rhythm and get going. More field goal attempts is another thing that's going to aid that as well. And that is going to take time because there's other guys on this team that can score. So I think the numbers back up when we say, hey, he's gotten off to slow starts. It's going to take a little bit of time for all the obvious reasons that are out there, but there's 5 times in these 13 games now that we can point to and say Damian Lillard either won them the game or he did everything he could showing up late to carry a lot of that offense in the fourth quarter. And tonight was one of those as well. 11 points in the fourth. And if that slam dunk goes down, it's a 2-point game with 14 seconds left. 855-616-1620. The number to join us tonight on Bucks Talk. A couple of texts on, I mentioned the 2 young guys. We will get to that. And a few trickling in as well on the Drew Holiday trade. And your thoughts now after having seen Drew Holiday in a Boston Celtics uniform playing the Bucks for the first time. So we'll get to that conversation as well after this on Bucks Talk.
You're listening to Bucks Talk. WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station.
Once you've lived with it, you know there's no comparison. Hydronic heating is the best in comfort. And when it comes to hydronic heating, the man in the red van can do it all with a 96% efficiency modulating heat boiler. Slant fin wall-mounted radiating heat, cast iron radiators, or how about in-floor heat that we can even lay in below your new driveway on your new home build, so you never have to shovel. Now we're talking.
You gotta see the man in the red van. Quality heating, quality heating.
So here's why you'd want an Armstrong air heat pump. Consider a powerful electric backup to your gas furnace that can do the work of your furnace very efficiently. That means lower energy bills, and it has a rock-solid 12-year warranty and can act as an AC unit too. But here's the real gist of it. With all the government tax credits you get, you almost get the darn thing free. So see the man in the red van to get reliable efficiency from an Armstrong air heat pump.
You gotta see the man in the red van. Quality heating, quality heating.
Stop into Ken Michaels Furniture for our sale on Bradington Young. Made in the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains, Bradington Young is an American icon in quality leather upholstery. Whether you are looking for power recliners or stationary seating, Bradington Young's furniture is made with enduring quality, outstanding comfort, and timeless styling. Save up to 40% now on Bradington Young upholstery at Ken Michaels Furniture in Brookfield and Greenfield. Visit us today. Give yourself the gift of sound sleep with a mattress set from Ken Michaels Furniture and Milwaukee Mattress. Handcrafted in our Milwaukee factory, our mattresses are custom built to your specifications. We offer special sizing, waterproofing, extra cushioning, and a variety of other options to accommodate your needs. Buy a mattress and a box spring set this week and get free delivery. For the best sleep of your life, stop into Ken Michaels Furniture on Highway 100 in Greenfield and Capitol Drive in Brookfield.
Hi, it's Samantha, and I want you to feast your ears on this Heiser Ford deal. You'll get up to $10,000 off MSRP on our limited supply of 2022 F-150s. That's a lot to save, especially before the holidays. So don't wait. These deals are being gobbled up as we speak. Stop in or shop online at HeiserFord.com to see all our monthly specials. Because at Heiser, today's your day.
That's stock number 1 FNKE 88360, MSRP 6570, tax title at $399, service fees extra, ends 11/30/23.
The Round Ball Repartee returns. This is Bucks Talk.
Bucks fall short in Boston, and it seems like it's almost like clockwork. You got a relatively early game on the calendar against the Boston Celtics in Boston. That does not go the Bucks' way. I mentioned on the pregame show, too, I don't know if it's irony, but one of those other things to add to this, I guess, rivalry. The Celtics and Heat are the two rivals that the Bucks have. But I don't know if the Celtics would call it a rivalry, and especially with the success that they've had against the Bucks in the postseason, not just recently, but throughout the course of their franchise history. But one of those other interesting things that just added to this whole thing tonight of Drew Holiday facing his former team. The very first game Drew Holiday played as a member of the Bucks was in Boston against the Celtics when Jason Tatum banked in a three-pointer over Giannis to win the game for the Celtics. And now here you have Drew Holiday playing the Bucks 15 games into his Celtics career for the first time. Speaking of Drew Holiday, got a text that says, a big Drew Holiday fan here. Bring Drew back. Not a fan of his replacement, especially off the court. I don't know what the off-the-court part means. Damian Lillard is right up there with Drew Holiday as one of the guys you would like in your the work he does for communities. And I don't think you can find anybody from Portland that has a bad thing to say about him. I knew it would be a loss. I still say the trading of Holiday was a big mistake. So, look, if you could find a way to bring in Damian Lillard and keep Drew Holiday, I am all for it. I would love to still have Drew Holiday on my team if he's not the best perimeter defender in the league, and I think we saw parts of that tonight when, Drew Holiday was the primary defender on Giannis. Yeah, Giannis missed a lot of shots around the rim. A lot of Bucks players did that they typically make. But you do have to ask, the whole chicken and egg theory was it just one of those nights where the Bucks missed shots, or was there something more to it? And Drew Holiday being the point of attack defender, that led to a lot of that. The Bucks, granted, they had Brook Lopez to help clean everything else up, but the Bucks had a lot of that as well when opponents would say, man, we missed a lot of these shots around the rim that we usually make. But if Drew's not the best perimeter defender, he is one of the three best. I would love to still have him on the team. But as I said at the top of the show, it was a trade you had to make. And I think tonight, even though you lost, was an illustration of that. Because you don't come back. You don't make this a one-score game with 15 seconds left or whatever it was, 20 seconds. You don't accomplish that without Damian Lillard. And I think it's not just the 5 games I talked about where he scored in double figures in the fourth quarter. Think about how I don't want to put too much credit on his plate there. It's because this, as Adrian Griffin will be the first to point out, it's 5-on-5. It's 5 guys that contribute to it. But, Damian Lillard was a big contributor opening night against the Sixers. In the win against the Knicks. We've seen a lot of those moments from Dame, and we almost saw another one tonight. He changes things, and that to me is the biggest reason why you had to make this trade. He changes things so much that when you have that guy on your side, think about in years past in this series with the Bucks and the Celtics, when your defense is just hanging by a thread and you're coming up with stops. And by the way, Bucks had their chances in the third quarter tonight when they had, I believe, a stretch of 4 straight stops, and they did not score on any of them. 2 of them were turnovers. They just got too sloppy. But in the past, you would put together stops. Your defense was much more stable. Your offense was not. And good offense, great offense, is going to beat good to great defense more times than not. Like, you have to outscore your opponent. And I understand preventing them from scoring is one way to do that, but you still have to score the ball. You can't win a game 0-0. And that was what the Bucks' issue was. I understand the loss of Drew Holiday is massive defensively, but we started to see it on opening night. We saw more of it tonight. And again, this with Damian Lillard firing on 3 of the 4 cylinders, basically. You still haven't seen Damian Lillard be Damian Lillard for an extended stretch of time just yet. You've seen just what he gives you on that other end of the floor. So I understand it still hurts to lose Drew Holiday and to have to go against him and him to land on the team that you would assume is the biggest threat standing in your way of reaching another NBA Finals. Yeah, none of that is great, but this was a deal the Bucks had to make. For that reason and the fact that, again, the overall point that we started this show with is the Boston Celtics are not afraid of you, and they have not been afraid of you for 2+ years now. They've had that success against you. And this is a group, when they see the Bucks, they just feel really good. You had to change some things, and that was the biggest change you could make. We have to match some of the perimeter scoring that the Celtics are putting up against us. They lost some of their defenders. You lost your best defender. They added pieces around it. Kristaps Porzingis had a pretty good game tonight. But Damian Lillard was still very impactful tonight, despite not having a great game. It was a very good second half for Damian Lillard. And once more, that's another one of the encouraging things is not only, man, how much fear Damian Lillard can put into his opponents late in games and how he did everything he could to drag that team across the finish line late, but the way he was doing it too, because we were led to believe not going to be able to get to the rim on Drew Holiday. He's going to be eaten up by Derek White in the backcourt. None of that happened tonight in the fourth quarter. So as much as it stings to give up Drew Holiday, I still stand by this. This was a trade that you had to make. 855-616-1620, the number to join us tonight. The Old National Bank Talk and Text line on Bucks Talk. We'll get to the Marjan and Andre Jackson Jr. conversation after this on Bucks Talk.
The Hardwood Homilies continue after this. This is Bucks Talk.
So I came to Advent because I was experiencing recurrent sinus infections. As a new mom, it was really kind of difficult.
Many of our patients complain of sinus infections. The headaches, fatigue, and nasal stuffiness have a profound effect on their lives.
I just felt like your sickness starts affecting your energy level and, the things that you really enjoy doing. That really was a breaking point for me.
So Molly came to Advent. Abnormally tight sinuses and swollen turbinates led to simple breathing triangle solutions that ended up taking about 20 minutes in office. And very soon thereafter, she was breathing freely.
I'm just in awe at the amount of air that that I'm able to breathe in and out each night. And I haven't had a sinus infection since the procedure.
I'm Dr. Madan Kandula. When you breathe well, you do live better.
Results may vary.
Giving food to the hungry, water to the thirsty, shelter for the homeless, care for the sick, clothing for the poor, and visiting those in prison. These are the mercies Jesus mentions as he separates the sheep from the goats on Judgment Day. Are we saved because we did those things? Or did we do those things because we were saved? Loving mercy. This week on The Lutheran Hour.
The Lutheran Hour, Sunday mornings at 6:30 on WTMJ. Looking for a fun family activity to get in the holiday spirit? Visit or volunteer for Capco's Kids to Kids Toy Drive in Grafton on Saturday, December 9th. It's a totally free event. Capco is dedicated to bringing communities together and has collected nearly 300,000 toys through Kids to Kids, and still counting. Join us in WTMJ for a celebration of giving and bring a new unwrapped toy to help children in need this holiday season. Support Kids to Kids. Visit kidstokidstoydrive.com.
Set your independence in motion. It starts with PACE at Community Care. The program of all-inclusive care for the elderly, also known as PACE, offers complete medical and long-term care services. A team of dedicated healthcare professionals coordinates all aspects of care to support independent living as long as possible. Learn more about a community that cares. Visit joinpacewi.com or call 833-900-PACE. That's joinpacewi.com or call 833-900-PACE.
Welcome back to Bucks Talk.
119-116 final. The Boston Celtics win it on a night. The Bucks did not play great. But you see the effect that Damian Lillard can have, especially, we joke about Dame time, but especially not only the fourth quarter, but late in the fourth. If he can smell blood in the water, you see the difference he makes, because once it got to 10, then I believe that's when Dame had the technical free throw. You get another basket, it's down to 7, and Dame hits, down to 9, you hit a 3, and it's down to 6. That's when you could see and you could sense the crowd in Boston thinking, what is going on here? And I know the Bucks had done that in the past. You think back to a couple of those playoff games, not only in the most recent series, in the series before the Bucks became the Bucks in 2018. Chris Middleton hit some big shots. I know the Bucks have done that. But it's almost as if it's the, wow, I can't believe they did that. With Damian Lillard, there's no, wow, I can't believe he did that. It's, I can't believe we have the guy that's doing that. So again, my thoughts are clear. I wish Drew Holiday was still on the team. I will continue to wish success for Drew Holiday when he plays 28 other teams in the league. But this was a deal that the Bucks had to make to keep the championship window open, and again, to just get past your biggest competitor in the conference. If you stayed even, in other words, the Bucks don't make any changes, the Celtics don't make any changes, I think the Celtics were a better team than the Bucks. So you had to make the deal for that reason. Now, one other way that the Bucks can get better this season is with number 3 and number 44. That, once again, you've seen, and I'm not trying to make this sound like, man, Andre Jackson Jr. is a 25 points per game scorer, and he should be starting, and he should be getting X amount of minutes. But I do believe he should be getting more at this point. And I'm not saying he won't, because I think when you listen to some of the things that Adrian Griffin has said about him, you can tell. Not just Griff, the entire coaching staff has an immense amount of confidence in him, and they know. And Adrian Griffin said a couple of games ago, he is going to be a big part of our future. I don't know if it's this year. I don't know if it's next month. I don't know if it's next season, but he is going to be a big part of our future. And just the mere fact that he is playing in some of these minutes that he is getting some of those defensive matchups on a Jason Tatum. You think back to opening night, too. Some of those reps that he got. And same for Marjan Beauchamp. That is going to be big. I think their minutes are going to continue to increase. I get why you would watch this and say, hey, they got to play more. I don't disagree with you. But it's coming. Like, you got to be patient. Just let them dip their toe in the water. More specifically, Andre Jackson. Let him get up to speed on the NBA game. Throw him in there in some of those spots. Let him learn and let him grow. And I think Griff has done that. But you saw tonight with the Celtics perimeter scorers, and again, no Drew Holiday, you really need some of those young, energetic guys that move their feet and know what they're doing defensively. It's not a knock on Chris Middleton or anybody else. Chris is not a 20-year-old. He's not in his early 20s. He's not the athlete that he once was with age and the surgeries that he has gone through. So it's going to be important for those guys to continue to develop so you do have that confidence that you can say, okay, we trust these two in playoff minutes, because Celtics are probably the number one team you would point to as this is the team standing in our path, and this is the team we have to get past to get to the spot to do what our ultimate goal is and win an NBA championship. You need some of those defensive types against the Boston Celtics. Jay Crowder's another guy. And I think the interesting part about the 4 matchups with Boston this season is where they come on the NBA calendar. It's almost like checkpoints, that you're not getting a bulk of them in one spot. You're not getting a bulk of them early. They're not all coming late. It's kind of evenly positioned throughout the year. So you can see that growth that we continue to say, hey, you're seeing signs of it. The team is growing. You can see it in these matchups. Or I should say, you hope you'll see it in these matchups. We'll share some final thoughts and wrap up the show after this on Bucks Talk.
You're listening to Bucks Talk.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
Do you hear that hissing sound? I think it's the sound of some steam being let out of the fall housing market. Some buyers have taken a break. Homes aren't selling on the first weekend anymore. Some are still selling over asking, but fewer and by not as much. Some sellers are even willing to chip in toward buyer closing costs to get their asking price. Now, do you hear that knocking sound? That's opportunity. Opportunity for well-prepared home shoppers. This dip in home buyer demand is not going to last, and mortgage rates are forecast to dip next year. Here's the best part. AccuNet can show you how to use a seller closing cost credit to lower your monthly payment by $100 or maybe even $200 a month for the first year or two while we wait for the refi window of opportunity to open, which we can typically accomplish with no loan costs. It's your choice, fear or opportunity. Click on the blue button today at AccuNet.com and become a confident, opportunistic, rock-solid home shopper. That's ACCUNET.com.
Kick off your holiday season this year with the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra and one of Santa's most famous magical helpers, Buddy. That's right, Elf in Concert comes to the Bradley Symphony Center November 24th through the 26th, when Yaniv Denur leads the MSO in John Debney's delightful score, as Jon Favreau's hilarious and heartwarming film is projected across the screen. Call the MSO box office for tickets now at 414-291-7605 or visit MSO.org. Santa may come once a year, but an experience like Elf in Concert may only come once in a lifetime. Don't miss this opportunity to experience fun for the whole family when the MSO presents Elf in Concert live with orchestra November 24th through the 26th. Visit MSO.org for tickets or call 414-291-7605.
You receive a diagnosis from a doctor. You feel good about proceeding. You also feel the need for a second opinion. Good for you. The Freighted and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network offers and encourages second opinions on medical and procedural next steps. Second opinions can often happen virtually and give you peace of mind about all that is humanly possible. Learn more or request an appointment at freighter.com/second opinion.
The Round Ball Repartee returns. This is Bucks Talk.
Stop me now, Daddy, 'cause I'm on my way. I can feel my ring coming. It's the blood of a champion pumping deep inside my veins. Too much pride to be running. I'ma get what I can and more, even if my blood, my sweat, and my tears don't mean nothing.
All right, a tough one for the Bucks tonight as they fall short in Boston. But I left with, and again, when your expectations are to win a championship, you hate to, hey, but here's some of the takeaways. Here's the positive takeaway, right? Here's a moral victory. But there was that, in that what you saw, what was different for this team in the fourth quarter. Now, they got to stop digging these holes in the first quarter. Adrian Griffin was asked about it after the game, and, look, Adrian Griffin's not the guy that's out there executing either. So I'm not saying, well, he didn't have any answers, but he didn't have any answers for it. We're still looking at everything. At times we get off to slow starts. I don't know if it's just shot making or if it's getting our engine going at times, but you can't ease into games when you're playing the Celtics and opponents like the Celtics. And that's exactly what they did. Celtics open up the game with a blow-by and Jaylen Brown dunks, and before you know it, it's a double-digit lead. They came out fired up. They hit some shots, but it's a long game. It's something to learn from and take away from. Our team is resilient. We showed a lot of character in the second half. We could have easily caved in, but we had a lot of fight. And there's no way to quantify this. I wouldn't say caved in and quit, but in years past, I don't think you see the Bucks make this as close. And it's not have a chance to win, but put themselves in a position to potentially have a chance to steal this game. If the group is the same, I just don't think you see that. And again, a lot of that is Damian Lillard. But there's going to be a lot of chatter about this game. It's an early season litmus test for the Bucks, and they failed it, is what I'm sure a lot of it is going to be. But if you're the Bucks, your confidence is, look, we're still figuring things out. Our offense is still clunky, and especially in the half court. It's going to get better. Defense had some issues in the early going tonight. It was getting gashed. Got better as the game went on. I'm not going to tell you it's an elite defense or it's going to trend towards an elite defense or they can get there. They probably can't. But as we've said a number of times, as long as you can just get it to average, get to that midpoint in the league in terms of your defensive ratings, hang around there because that means your defense will at least give you a chance to win the game. And I do believe the offense is starting to show more and more of that it will take that chance if given it. That, to me, is your takeaways, is our defense is getting better. Offense is starting to get a little bit of that chemistry. And, look, we've seen this team. They beat us. Granted, they did win. But we've seen this team, this Boston Celtics team, have issues closing games out. We got this Damian Lillard guy now who has no problem closing out games. Next up for the Bucks, the in-season tournament resumes. It's the final in-season tournament game that will be played at Fiserv Forum in the group play stage, the Bucks and the Washington Wizards. So if the Bucks win on Friday, it means they're in a spot where if they win on Tuesday in Miami, they will represent Group B. If the Bucks win on Friday and the Miami Heat beat the New York Knicks, then we are set up for Tuesday night in Miami. The winner of that game between the Bucks and the Heat takes the group. But Friday night, Bucks and the Wizards, 7 o'clock tip, 6:30 is when our coverage begins. And as always, Bucks talk after the game. We'll talk to you Friday night.
Commercial insurance is still getting more expensive. To share his knowledge on the topic, here is Jeff Salazinski, VP of Insurance Operations at R&R Insurance.
Hi, Vince. Today's commercial insurance market is more complex than ever. If your insurance professional is not offering you insights on the state of today's insurance market and only providing you a quote, you're with the wrong agent. Inflation of everything has rendered many policies inadequate. Lawsuits and jury awards are being settled for higher amounts than ever before, which means your liability and umbrella policies may be inadequate. Have you discussed this with your agent and how these factors have impacted your business insurance?
So, Jeff, what's the solution?
Sharing market insights and their related impact, as well as laying out strategic options for your business, are what R&R Insurance does best. We've been doing this for 48 years. At R&R Insurance, we know business insurance.
That's Jeff from R&R Insurance. Thanks for the great info, Jeff.
The holiday season is right around the corner. Give the gift that's hard to wrap, but easy to give. Give them a Steel. Visit your local Steel dealer or go to steelusa.com/gift guide.
Alleviate your pain, rejuvenate your life.
Pain relief and gimmicks. The two seem to go hand in hand, and it really is a shame, because when you're living with chronic pain, you're vulnerable. And that's why so many people get tricked into buying unproven treatments. At Rejuvenex, we understand how you suffer, how you wait to get out of bed because you know the pain is coming. Chronic pain from osteoarthritis is a terrible thing, and that's why we use our proprietary, powerful, FDA-approved treatments to precisely target your affected areas, to provide cushion and lubrication that helps deliver long-lasting pain relief in shoulders, hips, elbows, and knees. I'm Richard Salinas, registered nurse with Rejuvenex Arthritis Pain Clinics. We're in-network with most major insurance plans, including Medicare and Medicaid. We can alleviate your pain, and that'll rejuvenate your life. It's pain relief, really.
Rejuvenex. Alleviate your pain, rejuvenate
Go to rejuvenex.com to request your appointment.
Gillette Intimate gives guys a gentle and easy shave on there, and around there, and even under there. Don't treat your groin like junk. Respect it with Gillette Intimate, the best a man can get. Buy now at a retailer near you.
Temperature's getting low, but demand remains high? You need Indeed. Their all-in-one platform helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all from one place. And Indeed's interview tool lets you schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from their website. Visit Indeed.com/credits.
At Simply Safe